They thought I was the clueless wife paying their bills while they plotted to steal my $1 million inheritance. My husband Mark and my sister Vanessa spent 2 full years planning to destroy my life. But a forgotten iPad and a single notification changed everything. Today, I am going to tell you how I turned their dream wedding into a public execution, because what I found on that screen wasn't just an affair. It was a murder plot for my marriage. I have been married to Mark for 7 years. To the outside world, he was a high-level executive, the kind of guy who had it all together. But I knew the truth because I was the one who built him. When we met, he was broke, directionless, and drowning in debt. I supported him through everything, paid off his loans, and stood by his side while he climbed the corporate ladder. I thought we were partners. Then there was my sister Vanessa. In our family, she was the golden child. She was younger, beautiful, and used to getting exactly what she wanted without ever having to work for it. If Vanessa wanted a toy, she got it. If she wanted a car, my parents bought it. I was always the responsible one, the boring one, the one who cleaned up the messes. 3 months ago, Vanessa dropped a bombshell. She announced she was getting married to a billionaire from Dubai. It seemed sudden, but that was Vanessa. She loved the drama. The weird part was that she wouldn't show us a single picture of him. She claimed it was for privacy reasons because of his high-profile status. I defended her when people asked questions. I told everyone to respect her boundaries. I was so happy for her, thinking she finally found someone to take care of her so I wouldn't have to anymore. Then came the Tuesday that ruined my life. Mark left for a business trip, which wasn't unusual. He kissed me goodbye, told me he loved me, and walked out the door. But he made one fatal mistake. He forgot his iPad on the kitchen counter. I didn't think much of it until the screen lit up with a notification. It was a message from Vanessa. That was strange, but what the message said stopped my heart cold. It read, "I can't wait to be at the altar with you. Only 10 days until we get that inheritance money and leave that boring witch behind." My heart didn't just break, it turned into absolute ice. I stood there in my kitchen, staring at the words, unable to breathe. I knew the passcode. I unlocked the iPad and spent the next 6 hours scrolling through 2 years of messages. They weren't just sleeping together. They were laughing at me. They mocked the way I dressed, the way I cooked, and how gullible I was. And then I found the truth about the billionaire. Mark was the billionaire. Vanessa wasn't marrying a stranger from Dubai. She was marrying my husband in a fake ceremony. It was all a setup to trigger a clause in our father's will. My dad had left a specific stipulation that Vanessa would receive $1 million only upon her marriage to ensure she was settled. They were going to stage this wedding, trigger the payout, take my father's money, and run away to Europe together, leaving me with nothing. I didn't confront them. I didn't call Mark. I didn't scream at Vanessa. Instead, I hired a private investigator. I found out they met every Tuesday at a cheap motel while I was at my yoga class. I got the photos. I got the videos. I even found out Mark was using my credit card to buy the jewelry Vanessa was wearing to our family dinners. The betrayal was deep, but my revenge was going to be deeper. I decided to help them plan the wedding, but on my terms. I spent $50,000 on my sister's wedding dress and the venue, but I wasn't paying for a wedding. I was paying for their funeral. The ceremony was exactly 48 hours away, and as the maid of honor, everyone thought I was running around trying to make Vanessa's big day perfect. They were right about the running around part, but they were dead wrong about the goal. I wasn't securing flowers or tasting cake. I was securing my exit strategy and tasting the sweetest revenge of my life. You have to understand, the last 10 days were absolute torture, probably the hardest of my entire existence. I had to wake up every single morning next to Mark, a man who was actively planning to abandon me, and I had to smile at a sister who was stealing my life right out from under me. Every morning, I'd pour Mark his coffee, kiss him on the cheek, and tell him to have a great day, all while knowing he was texting her the second he got to his car. It takes a special kind of discipline to not scream when you're looking at a monster, but I'm a lawyer. I know how to play the long game. I know that if you want to win, you don't show your cards until the very last second. While they were busy sneaking around motels, I was busy moving assets. I logged into every single one of our joint bank accounts. Savings, investments, the rainy day fund, all of it. I moved every cent into a private trust that I had set up days prior. Being a lawyer has its perks because I knew exactly how to make that money disappear legally before divorce papers were even filed. By the time Mark realized he was broke, I'd be long gone, and the money would be untouchable. But the money was just the safety net. The real show was the wedding itself. I finally tracked down the groom Vanessa had hired. She had been telling everyone he was this Dubai billionaire who swept her off her feet, but I did some digging. His name was Leo, and he wasn't a billionaire. He was an out-of-work actor who was desperate for a gig. I cornered him 2 days before the ceremony. He looked terrified, thinking the gig was up, but I didn't want to stop him. I wanted to employ him. I offered him double what Vanessa and Mark were paying him. All he had to do was stand there at the altar, keep his mouth shut, and let me handle the surprises. He took the cash instantly. He didn't care about the drama, he just wanted the paycheck. Then came the morning of the wedding. The church was packed. We're talking 300 guests. Mark's bosses were there, our parents, our entire social circle, basically everyone whose opinion mattered to Mark and Vanessa. Vanessa looked like an angel in that dress I paid for, completely oblivious that her life was about to implode. Mark was standing in the front row, and I could see him looking at her. It wasn't love in his eyes, though. It was greed. He was looking at her like she was a winning lottery ticket. I walked up to the audiovisual technician in the back of the church. My hands weren't even shaking. I handed him a USB drive and told him it was the childhood tribute video we had rehearsed. I lied right to his face. There were no baby pictures on that drive. It was a 10-minute compilation I had painstakingly edited together. It had everything. Security footage from their motel visits, screenshots of their disgusting texts mocking me, and audio recordings of their plan to steal my money and run off together. The ceremony began and the music swelled. Vanessa stood at the altar with Leo, the fake groom. The priest went through the motions, the whole dearly beloved speech. Then came the moment I had been waiting for. The priest asked if anyone had any objections to the union. The silence in the room was heavy. I stood up. The sound of my heels clicking on the floor echoed as I walked over to the projector. I looked Mark dead in the eye, then looked at Vanessa. I said, "I don't have an objection, but I do have a gift." The lights went out, and instead of a cute montage of childhood memories, the entire church watched my husband and my sister destroying their lives in high definition on a 20-foot screen. This was the exact moment I nuked their entire existence in front of everyone they have ever known or respected. I had been planning this for weeks. The adrenaline was pumping through my veins so hard I could hear my own heartbeat, but on the outside I was stone cold. The room was pitch black, filled with hundreds of guests. Family, friends, business partners, and most importantly, Mark's boss. They were all expecting a sweet slideshow of our love story, or maybe baby photos of Vanessa. Instead, the projector hummed to life and the audio kicked in. It wasn't wedding music. It was Mark's voice, crystal clear, booming through the church speakers. The video showed the inside of a motel room. It was gritty, raw, and undeniable. Mark was sitting on the edge of the bed laughing. He was talking about me. He was calling me useless. He was mocking the fact that I had struggled with infertility for years, something that had broken my heart 1,000 times over. But he wasn't just venting. He was cruel. And then Vanessa walked into the frame. My own sister. She sat in his lap, kissing him, and they started counting. They were literally counting the inheritance money they thought they were going to get once they pushed me out of the picture. The silence in that church was deafening. It was the kind of silence that feels heavy, like the air had been sucked out of the room. You could hear a pin drop until the screaming started. Vanessa realized what was happening. She started shrieking, lunging toward the tech booth, screaming for them to turn it off. But I had already taken care of that. I had paid the technician $5,000 to make sure that video played until the very end. He put on an award-winning performance, pretending to struggle with the buttons, acting like the system was jammed while the footage just kept rolling. My father, a man who values pride and honor above everything else, stood up. I watched his face turn a terrifying shade of purple. He looked from the screen to Vanessa, and I saw the exact moment his heart hardened. Mark turned to look at me, and his face was ghost white. The arrogance was gone. He looked like a cornered rat. He tried to grab my arm, maybe to beg, maybe to threaten me, but I didn't flinch. I pulled a folder out of my bag and shoved it into his chest. I told him loud enough for the front row to hear that those were divorce papers. I told him I knew about the secret bank accounts. I knew about the motel visits. And I knew he was completely broke. That was the final nail in the coffin. My father stepped into the aisle, his voice shaking with rage, and announced to the entire room that Vanessa was disinherited immediately. No $1 million, no mansion, no safety net. She was out. Mark's boss, who had been watching this horror show in the third row, stood up. He looked at Mark with pure disgust and told him not to bother coming in on Monday because they don't employ snakes. The wedding turned into a crime scene of emotions. Mark was escorted out by security. Vanessa was left crying on the floor in her $50,000 dress, which was now stained with her own mascara and the shame of what she had done. I didn't stay to hear the apologies. I walked out of that church, got into my car, and drove straight to the airport. I flew to Bali using the money Mark thought he was going to steal from me. I bought a villa with a pool and finally breathed for the first time in years. But the best part happened the next morning. Mark's mother called me. She was sobbing. She told me a secret about Mark's past that I never knew, something illegal that would put him in jail for years. This isn't over.